working on developing compounds for anti-cancer activity. So they wanted to test the cream themselves.
All themselves?
Yeah, we got the funding and that took us on a 2 years route. Never envisioned myself to be in a startup.
You're surprising me here. So you're not a natural?
I wasn't that person.
Preethy, you need to pitch your science. And then you go like, no, it's not for me.
Maybe I can pitch, maybe I can do it. It's still quite challenging, I would say.
If you start a company, quit your life, live in your mom's basement and work as hard as you can, it doesn't necessarily have to be that.
When you have a startup, you should also know the practicalities behind the startup.
You can't just like take it and give it to a business developer. You have to be involved. At the end of the day, you're the innovator behind it.
They put money not only on the technology, they put money also on the people. It doesn't matter if it's a scientific audience or non-scientific audience. The most important thing is...
Preethy Paul.
Hi.
Hey, it's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
I am so intrigued to know what is your story?
Okay, I'll start from my background then.
Sure.
I have my background is in cell biology. And when I was doing my PhD in India, we were testing different plant extracts for their anti-cancer activity. So that is how we landed in the plant and the compound that we have been working now. And through an Indo-Finnish scholarship, I came to Professor John Ericsson's lab at Abo Academy University to continue my PhD. So it has been, I think, almost 15 years that I have been in the same field of research. And during that time, we were actually working on developing products for compounds for anti-cancer activity. And we found that the compounds that we identified, they are quite effective against human papillomavirus cancer cells. So we were working on anti-cancer projects for many years. And then at one point, we found that we can actually develop the product as a topical cream to also treat these HPV warts, which are kind of benign tumors on the skin.
Is it like the herpes or?
It's not herpes, but it's like, it's kind of these warts that you get on your hands, your face, and also on your feet.
Your feet.
Yeah, so we did, we got a Business Finland research to business funding. We developed the product. The prototype actually was quite successful, I would say, with the research test we did. So at that time, we were also trying to find investors for a startup. And then we were pitching in different events, and I got an opportunity to pitch in this Y Science event, which is held in Slush by, I think, Helsinki University as a life science pitching event. And we pitched there. We found an investor there, and we co-founded Anisen Therapeutics in 2021.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It seems like such a packed journey. It started all the way from India, and then from a PhD to continuing it across countries, across the continent.
Yes.
For now, I would like to focus more on maybe the story of Anisen Therapeutics.
Yes.
What is the story behind that, and how did it come into existence?
We have been on developing these anti-cancer products for human papillomavirus, and developing compounds for cancer. It's a long pathway. It was quite challenging. It is still quite challenging, I would say. So during one of those times, we were discussing as a team, how do we go forward? Because getting research funding is also quite challenging in an applied research kind of settings. So at that time, it was also, we know that HPV causes cancer. Also, HPV causes these warts on the skin. There is not so good, I would say, not very successful medications available in the market. So we were, as a team, discussing the options. And it was our professor, John Ericsson was like, maybe we should try and see first if we can develop a product for a non-cancer, for topical cream, show that it works before we really go on the cancerous side. And we had a plant-based compound, which was quite safe to use, I would say, because that plant was drank as tea in India. It has been used for various purposes, both in Indian and Chinese medicine. It's one of the medicinal plants that grows very, very easily in many of the tropical countries. I think it was 2017 that we wrote an application to Business Finland for a research to business funding, because we were always this group of researchers who had compounds who tested them on cells. We never developed this as a product as such. So then we got the funding from Business Finland, and that took us on a 2 years route to actually take the compound, make it as a cream that you can just apply on your skin. So we made it as a cream. The chemist in our group, we had Senthil and Yuri and Patrick at that time. They are in organic chemistry. So they are the chemists behind the team who actually made it into a product. And the first thing was, how do we prove it? How do we prove it actually works?
Every great innovation starts with a eureka moment, but turning that spark into something real takes much more. That's why we help build From Ideas to Innovations, a course for people who want to do something with their spark. It breaks down exactly what stands between an idea and reality. The IP, the funding, the right people, the market fit. And through the series, you'll hear the stories behind those innovations. Real conversations brought to life with the support of our partners, Farha, the University of Turku, and Obo Academy University. Subscribe to our series and check out the course link in the description below. And now, let's get back to today's guest.
The first thing was, how do we prove it? How do we prove it actually works? You have a cream, you cannot put them on the cells. You don't have a model like usually on a rat or somewhere where you can test them. So then we came to know that warts do not only, papilloma virus affect like all animals, like cows, dogs, horses, etc. So then we came to know bovine warts or cow warts is one of the model system to test. But then where do we find cow warts? So we had a collaboration with a veterinarian in India. So we made the cream, sent it to India, and he had many cows that had this huge warts. So they applied the cream on the cows, and the usual treatment is either cutting, like surgical excision, cutting down of the warts, or then pouring some acid into it. So it's a very corrosive, harsh treatment for the cows. But when the veterinary doctor applied our cream, the warts were like, they just dry and fall off with no like irritation or like corrosive effect on the skin. So the results were pretty good, and there was no side effects. The cows, the wound healed actually pretty well once the wart was gone. So that gave us like a confidence that our product does work. But then there was some moment that the researchers, because everyone have warts like either on hands or on the face, so you cannot test it on humans unless you do like a preclinical testing with definitely a different type of safety testing. So you cannot use it on humans. But the researchers were bold enough. The research team behind it, including like few of them, they had some kind of warts on the foot and also on the face, which they had tried like salicylic acid treatment and like different kinds of treatment. So they wanted to test the cream themselves.
On themselves?
Yeah. So we made it. They tested it on themselves, took pictures. And I mean, it's a risk they took because the plant is not like, it's a plant that has been commonly used. So but not in Europe. So you cannot do human testing in Europe because it is not a plant commonly found in Europe. So the warts actually went away. It was quite effective, and there was no like skin irritation or scarring. Word spread, and there were few people outside the research group also wanted to test it. But it's you cannot give it out like that. But there were some people who really wanted to test it. The results were actually quite good. So that is where this whole thing started. And I think I was in some of the meeting that many people know that we have been working on HPV cancers. And the first time I presented the product, that we have a product for HPV warts, I think that surprised or shocked some people. I would say they were like, but you have been working on cancer so long. Why did you ever take a non-cancerous route? Like, people die of cancer, but they don't die of warts. But I think that is a good way of prove your product works. And that is also one of the reasons we actually got our first investor who was really, really liked the concept that we had a very simple product that everyone understands. You have a product, you apply in warts, it goes away. It was a very simple thing.
As simple as that.
As simple as that.
Seems like the way you say the story is so beautiful.
Okay.
Like the ups and the downs, and then you talk about like, I mean, there is a risk on trying it on yourself.
Yes.
But everybody just took the risk because
we wanted to try. They are like those big cow warts can go away. We wanted to try it for ourselves, and
my God.
Yeah, and then that is when we co-founded Anisen Therapeutics in 2021. So yeah, that was the story. So we had myself and John in the team, and then we had Senthil, who was one of the chemists who made the cream. And then we wanted to have a CEO at that time because we were all on the academic phase. So we found our CEO, our first CEO, he was Kenneth Sundberg. So he helped us in the formative years of Anisen because all of us had a research background. And when you have a startup, you should also know the practicalities behind the startup. You can also be a CEO, definitely. But with him, it really helped. It was easily the company going with all the practicalities, registering a company, getting it up to speed, making sure everything is done legally. Everything, I think it was quite easy because we had an experienced person at that time. So when 2021 Anisen Therapeutics was co-founded, we were still in the academic stage, and Kenneth was the one who actually, who was in the company full time. And then when the real R&D, like the research and development work, has to begin in the company, Senthil first shifted 100% to the company to help with writing applications for fundraising. Then I also joined the company first part-time, but then full-time, I think, in 2022. So after a year of founding the company, we were successful closing our first funding round with Business Finland loan, with private investors. So we finished the funding round and we had to kickstart the real activity of making the cream, showing that it can be made at the industrial scale. So that is when 3 of us were full-time employees in the company, myself, Senthil, and Kenneth.
So then I want to ask you about this point specifically, like if we can dive deeper into the company and the history of how that switch happened.
Yes.
And how was your involvement at different phases of it? Because some people say like, you can't just like take it and give it to a business developer. You have to be involved. At the end of the day, you're the innovator behind it. But then how do you do the balance between this and actually not jumping, or like, do you have to always jump in as soon as you start an idea? Like, can you explain this to me a bit more?
Yes. So because I have talked with a lot of my peers who have been in the similar kind of situation, so it differs for everyone. But I think being an innovator, you have to be in the company, like quite involved, hands-on, with or without working in the company, at least initially.
With or without?
Like you might have another job. And like in our case, we were at Abo Academy University because we had another surprise project, which I can talk about it later, which was again a research to Business Finland. So me and Senthil were there. But then when Kenneth started the company and when we started with applying to Business Finland loan, pitching to investors, he made all the business side and he has a chemistry background. So he also understood the science side. But when it comes to the real scientific questions and everything, when you present to, though you're working, but when for your company's fundraising, you have to be involved full time. Yeah, you cannot just give it to someone because it's deep tech projects. I think all the deep technical side of projects, it's the innovator who knows the depth of it, because it's people throw questions that you don't even expect. Sometimes it can be so deep as you have to really dig into your memory to find the answers. So I think in our case, or in also on the investor perspective, they put money not only on the technology, they put money also on the people.
They put money also on
the people. Yeah, it's the teams also they trust. It's not only like, oh, they have a superb technology, but not everyone can take it to the market. It can also be a very simple technology, like in our case, but you need the people behind it. So I think the investors not only look at the science, the business, but they also look at the people, because at the end of the day, when the company is co-founded, you will have tough times. And what can keep you going if not the people who actually is the backbone of the company or the co-founders of the company? Because if you go backward, then there is no one. It's your passion, I think, would help you in driving. So you need to have a very good team. But coming to your exact question of how did we balance it? So in our case, there was little money, as you know, the initial startup. So we had the company running up, and we did have our full-time jobs at Abo Academy University, and then we were helping with fundraising, meeting investors, pitching to them. And then when we finished our first funding round, it also depends on investors and also Business Finland. They expect you to be in the company, because I think that is quite fair one. When you have the money, you be in the company, do the work full time for the company, because it's full time. But then sometimes it can also be part time, because first I started with 50%. It was because my part will come a little later. It was the chemist who had to, so whose task is the first you begin with. So that's why Senthil was in the company full time before me. But then when my role started to come, because he was the CTO, I was the CSO, so then I shifted to the company.
CSO is the
Chief Scientific Officer.
Yeah. Got you. Okay.
So, and because I also took care of R&D, the biology side of the thing, so then I moved to the company full time. And we worked there for 2 years because to take care of the company. And then at one phase, we were hit again with, funding issues, like we have to find more investors. We have to have a second funding round to continue our study, continue our plan. So at that time, sometimes you will not have money to pay salaries and things. So I think sometimes people do take a pass, like they find a job, but that's what I think. Even when we have other jobs, you're still involved in the company's fundraising because the innovator and the co-founders wanted to see it through the tough times.
Wanted to see it through.
Yeah. I would say that, because if you just take a company and you're not involved yourself, you give it to someone else. The first thing, they try to make it success. If it doesn't work, especially in a startup, if it's a big corporation, it's a different thing. If it doesn't work, they try as much as they can and they give up. Like, we tried, that's it. But when you are behind the technology and you will try, I think you try extra hard, and you will try different possibilities to hopefully to not fail and, go forward. So in our case, I think the fundraising is, it's quite different with technologies. For some technology, which is easily to bring it to a market, like a software, like a diagnostic tool,
Sure.
It's easier to find investors because they know that in 1 year, 2 years, your product will be in the market. You'll get the money back. But with the pharma drug development, especially with the market situations that we were in, after COVID, we co-founded the company. Situations changed. It's still changing, So for us, it was quite tough compared to many other. Though we have life science investors, in our case, it was quite tough. And till 4 years, we are still trying to do different things to keep the company alive. I think it is definitely because of the co-founders and the innovators who were actually involved in the company.
That's so beautiful how you put it, and it seems that the way you approached founding a company and having a startup is actually company first, and also at the same time the team is the foundation for that company. So right now the team needs to eat. So how about we do like part-time company, part-time eating, working as So it sounds like it's not like the whole, if you start a company, quit your life, live in your mom's basement and work as hard as you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You can actually balance it out. Yes. And when you do get some funding, you can give it 100%.
Exactly.
And then when it's like COVID or something happening, ups and downs, you can take a step back, but still you are working on your next funding application.
Exactly.
Now, speaking about that, I'm actually very interested because in your journey, you have been funding to different people who have different languages. I'm really interested to know, how do you speak to different audiences? Because your funding journey has not been just one funding body, but some were investors, some were VC, some were actually like governmentally backed funding bodies. Yes. So how do you actually speak to different audiences and communicate with them?
So that needed a mind switch, and also I think more training also. So when we were on the research side and always talked to science audience, it was quite easy. They know what you're talking about. You don't have to over-explain anything or simplify anything. You can kind of tell the story. And I have also heard scientific people making it quite simple, which was hard for me. But I like, explaining things in a simple way doesn't come easy for me. It was quite hard. But then when we had to do these pitching events, that has helped us, because when you are in a stage with a pitching event, they give you like 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. You can put 5 slides or you can have 10 slides. that really challenges you when you are so used to explain everything in detail and go into every in-depth scientific part, and then you have to squeeze your science and also the business, everything together in a presentation and make it quite simple. So when it came to the audiences that I were facing, initially, I think with the Slush event was the side event called Why Science event. So I think it had more scientific audiences. But then I came to know not everyone is like life science backed. It can be any kind of science. And in the pitching events, the thing that helped me most is the coaching that they give, the training. When you are selected for these pitching events, you do undergo sessions of training. They go through your slides. And then I always think, or at least me, that I want these things to be told to the audience. These things have to be explained. They have to know it. They have to get it, because for me, it's precious that you think it's precious. But it's not. That's something you have to understand. The audience are different. What they want to hear is also different. A simple story, which because when you're in a pitching stage, like 5-10 people pitching, so you have to get through them in the most easiest way. You have to make you understand, and it doesn't mean you have to get all your scientific concept through them. It's a simple story. Especially, they should understand what is your technology, why are you doing it, how do you differ from others, and what really makes it unique. And that you have to do it in a 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. So I think it was like I had been in the Spark Up Turku pitching. Then at that time, Spark Finland wasn't there. I think it was in 2018. We had the Spark Up pitching, and then Business Finland had a pitching event. So I got an opportunity to pitch there. And then that took me to one of the Slush side events. I got an opportunity. We had to apply to everywhere. And in each of these pitching sessions, there were different people who train you, who coach you. And then I also got an opportunity to pitch online in a US-based event. So I think it doesn't matter if it's a scientific audience or non-scientific audience. The most important thing is explain them in simple terms that they understand what is it really you are doing, what is your product. Because I think I have been to some pitching events. At the end of the pitch, sometimes the judges or even the audience ask, okay, but how are you going to solve the problem? Because sometimes it's like you get involved so much in explaining the concepts that sometimes it's easy that people do not even understand the solution. If it's a cream, if it's a device, or if it is a patch that you are developing. So then I understood that you explain them, this is the problem. This is the solutions that are not working. But then we have made the solution that works and why this solution works. So keep it quite simple. But that did not come easily, at least for me. So after many training sessions, I think I was also in this business accelerator program. So all these programs helped to narrate the story to different audiences. And then, but when you're with like serious investors, the first thing that they dive into is, because they have all the resources to do the market study, to look at your competitors and everything. But they then delve deep into your technology.
Okay.
How well you know it, how well you can defend it, how are you in trends with the current products, what are your competitors, are you aware of your competitors, how can you be different from the competitors, and do you know who are the people, like the consumers that will at last use the product, and how will the money come in. So then it gets very serious. So that is why I think having an innovator will always help as in the company, because they are the ones who can explain it with ease. Even when thrown like questions which you would have done an experiment like 5 years back, 6 years back. And then, that is something so I think it helps if, so I know that sometimes research students do take a back step, like how will we fit in the company? But I think explaining your concept to investors, pitching, now there are a lot of people, like lot of organizations, like who can help with those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems that you have been able to get into those support systems, and you're very open to learn that new skill.
Yes.
Very open to learn. Like I think it's so beautiful how you gave us two very powerful techniques. Like one of them is that don't just get so in love with your science.
Oh, yeah.
but try to just get the point. What is it? Why are you doing it? And how does it impact us?
Exactly.
And then at the same time, you have balanced it out with what does it actually mean to the world in terms of like the market?
Yes.
Who is it for really? Because like you said, those investors they have all the tools to actually see if there's a market fit or a market need. And if you had already done that research, then you speak
Yes.
more or less their language.
Yes, I would say. Exactly.
Maybe I'm actually very intrigued to know, like, what is the story that makes Preethy the person she is today?
So I would say my passion was in like biology when I was already in school, and I continued to take it up during my bachelor's and master's. But then I always thought I will be on the research side, being on a bench, doing experiments, writing articles, and maybe I will take the academic path. I never envisioned myself. I think maybe even 6-7 years ago, I always thought I would stay in the academic path. Never envisioned myself as to be in a startup or to do like business. I always thought maybe it was mindset. We do the research like as researchers, and someone else will take your research concept to the market.
Right.
That is what I thought, and I thought there will be some people maybe with management degree or marketing degree or like business degree who does the business side. It's not the researchers. So that was how I envisioned it to be. But then I think things took a turning point at one stage when I felt that when we present it to audiences, because you have been in the field for so long, you know in depth your research, the science behind it, which people are, especially science investors, they want to know a lot about behind it. And then I thought it's the researchers usually present it. It can be in a research kind of a presentation, the pitching initially, but they know exactly what they are talking about. They can, whatever questions are thrown at them, they are quite able to handle them really well because you've been in that for quite long. And especially if it's a startup in the beginning stage, people want to know the depth of your research, what is the background, how it came from. So at that time, I thought maybe I can take up the pitching because I would like to the non-scientific investors. Maybe I can pitch, maybe I can do it. It did take few trainings, how to speak to an audience who are not fully backed up with science, or even to a scientific audience who can be different from your field. So yeah, that needed a lot of practice, especially to change my mindset. Like I have to talk the non-science also to take my research and my product to people.
You're surprising me here. So you're not a natural? I thought you were born this way.
Maybe my I don't know, my scientific presentations were comfortable for me, not the non-scientific presentations at some point, not like talking about in-depth on financials and market data and what are your competitors doing. I mean, it's on the research side, what are your competitors doing and how you differ from them is a bit different when you also talk it about in the business scale, like how you can make money, bring money into that.
It's a different language.
It's a different language. So that took time for me to learn. So that is what I think I kind of adapted to different situations with different conversations. So I think that maybe helped my story to... I tell things in a very complicated way that comes with my nature. I explain things in
your nature.
Yeah, like quite complicated. I don't tell. Sometimes I weave stories around it. I tell, and then this actually made me to simplify my way of talking. Sometimes keep it very simple, straightforward, depending on the audience, of course.
Of course.
So it did. I think the adaptability is very important when you want to take up a startup phase, especially adapting to different situations. So I think that helped me to where I am, but it did not turn. I mean, I know that there are a lot of researchers nowadays whom I admire, like they want to have a startup, they want to take themselves. I wasn't that person. I was always like behind, like research, not into, but then it all changed. I had to change my mindset, the way I think. So I would say adaptability plays a huge role.
Adaptability does play a huge
Yes,
role.
it does
And thank you so much for sharing your story, because even though we're seeing all the like the journey, how it was, but adaptability seems to be at the very core of it.
Yes, yes.
Like ever since you were a student, and how it's changing with time, and
Yes.
it's so beautiful how you said like I was not that person, I did not want to be that person,
Exactly.
but for some reason it sounds like the hero's journey. If you hear about the hero's journey,
Yeah.
where a wise sage will come and say, Preethy, you need to pitch your science, and then you go like, no, it's not for me, and then suddenly
Definitely,
you're on stage
Yes.
on
yes.
Slush, one of the biggest events
Yeah.
in the world
Oh yes.
for startups, and then you're there on the big stage and you actually got an investment.
Yes.
Now I wanna leave you with one final question. If you would have to pitch in 30 seconds, what kept you going through all the difficult times? The times where you got rejected on stage, you did not get the investment. What kept you going in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds.
It's
I
a
would-
pitch.
Okay. So I would say perseverance, being persistent is very important because when you fail, you do have this emotional down. But the team, so I always tell a team of people is made of pessimist, sometimes realistic and optimist. If you have a good mixture of team, because when you get down because of, you fail or something, it's the optimistic people who surround you, who come and help you, lift you up. So I think persistence and the team that is persistent, I think that makes it through, I think not only startup, but through life also. Yeah.
Also.
So for me, I think I'm blessed with a team that helps me keep going. Even as you tell, like pitching, it's quite hard. So I mean, sometimes you get reject. Like people tell it blunt on the stage. Oh, there are these things. I don't think you're so it's sometimes, and then sometimes you also get so many emails after rejection. So I think persistence and the team that you are with, it's very important.
So in Finnish words, we would say, have sisu.
Okay.
All right. How about if you think about you waking up every morning, what's that biggest motivation that makes you want to wake up? And
I think the trust that people have that this science and this product will definitely reach the market. That is something that, okay, we have to do something to keep it going. It is a tough journey. So I think it's the trust that some people have in you somehow also, and seeing your science shine in, if it has become a product in the market. I think that is a huge thing for a startup, for an entrepreneur,
100%.
or a research turned on.
A research turned out of we have an identity issue here.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful how it's very noble actually, and quite, it's like quite a big responsibility it sounds like you have this responsibility that I have the knowledge, I have the science, and I need to give it to the people because they need this, and it's going to make their lives better.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's beautiful. All right. And then I want to ask you, so I'm going to ask you like what Einstein wrote on a napkin. They say all sorts of things Einstein said. They like misquote him all the time. So I'm going to misquote him as well. But they say if you can't explain it to your grandma, then you don't understand it well enough, right?
Yeah.
So how would you say, like in a few words, very shortly, what is Anisen therapy to a 10-year-old? How would you explain that to a 10-year-old?
You have these little bumps on the skin, and if a doctor checks it or if a parent checks it, and if it's a wart, we have a very simple product. You apply on it every day, and then maybe in 10 days to 2 weeks, it's gone. It disappears. And you are free from that little wart on your skin.
Nice. That was nice. All right. I'm an investor. Pitch it to me like an investor.
So at Anisen Therapeutics, we have developed the product which specifically treat HPV or human papillomavirus mediated warts. So the technology is quite specific with no side effects, which actually makes it quite differentiating from the products in the market.
That was nice. Even your body posture changed. You became like very pro. Like, let me tell you, how much money do you have? All right, a final pitch. It's also an investor, but actually it's an investor from the countryside. To be specific, from Suomussalmi.
Okay. Is that specific?
I mean, they have the money, but they're from the countryside. So what would you say?
Tough. I'm not sure if you have seen these, is it Siula? the Finnish word for warts.
Sula?
Sula, yeah, in the horses, maybe you have seen it, horses or cows and also humans. So this kind of virus, it can affect not only humans but also animals. And we have an excellent product to make them go away. So if you're interested, we can demonstrate you, we can show you how it helps animals and also humans. So we have a different market opportunity. We have a wide market entry. So if you're interested, we can talk more about it.
It's beautiful. My horse the other day developed one. This is perfect. Thank you so much. This was lovely. Thank you.
Every great innovation starts with a eureka moment, but turning that spark into something real takes much more. That's why we help build From Ideas to Innovations, a course for people who want to do something with their spark. It breaks down exactly what stands between an idea and reality. The IP, the funding, the right people, the market fit. And through the series, you'll hear the stories behind those innovations. Real conversations brought to life with the support of our partners, Farha, the University of Turku, and Obo Academy University. Subscribe to our series and check out the course link in the description below.